Every day your mind is being programmed whether you realize it or not. The people around you, the content you consume, the conversations you repeat, the habits you tolerate, and the excuses you entertain are shaping your identity. If you do not consciously take control of that programming, the world will do it for you. Most people never decide who they want to become. They absorb beliefs from fear, failure, negativity, and comparison, then wonder why they feel weak, distracted, and inconsistent. Your life follows your mental conditioning. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your actions, and your repeated actions determine your future. That means mastering the small things starts with mastering the commands you give your own mind every single day. The first battle happens in the morning. Before social media, before noise, before other people's opinions, you must establish control over your state. If the first thing you consume is chaos, distraction, or negativity, your focus is already broken. Your mind becomes reactive instead of intentional. Strong people do not start the day absorbing random energy from the world. They create their own direction first. Wake up and immediately program certainty into yourself. Speak strength before weakness has a chance to speak for you. Tell yourself who you are and what you expect from yourself. Not casually, not softly. With conviction, your brain responds to repetition and emotion. If you repeatedly say you are tired, stressed, lazy, unlucky, or behind in life, your nervous system adapts to that identity. But if you repeatedly condition yourself with words like disciplined, focused, relentless, grateful, and capable, your behavior slowly begins aligning with those standards. This is why small habits matter so much. Every small action is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you make your bed, keep your word, finish your workout, organize your environment, or complete a task without procrastination, you are not just doing chores. Evidence creates belief, and belief changes identity. Most people fail because they wait to feel motivated before acting. That is backwards. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates belief. You cannot think your way into becoming stronger. You must behave your way there. Your mind is always watching what you do more than what you say. If you constantly break promises to yourself, your self-respect weakens. You stop trusting your own words. That is why mastering small disciplines is powerful. Every time you follow through on something minor, you teach your brain that you are a person who executes. That identity becomes dangerous over time. The world constantly tries to lower your standards. Comfort tells you to delay. Entertainment tells you to escape. Weak environments normalize excuses, but successful people train themselves to act regardless of mood. They understand that emotions are temporary, but standards must remain permanent. You need mental rituals that condition strength daily. Read something that sharpens your thinking. Move your body with intensity. Spend time in silence. Review your goals every morning and night. Visualize the person you are becoming. Feed your mind with direction instead of confusion. If you don't intentionally shape your focus, distractions will control it. Protect your mind aggressively. Negative input creates negative output. Complaining people, toxic conversations, and constant comparison poison discipline. Your brain absorbs whatever it repeatedly hears. If you surround yourself with doubt long enough, doubt starts sounding logical. That is why you must become selective with what enters your mental environment. Another key is learning to control your internal dialogue during difficult moments. Anybody can feel confident when life is easy. The real test is what you say to yourself under pressure. When things go wrong, weak minds say, "I can't handle this." Strong minds say, "This is training me." One mindset creates collapse. The other creates growth. Programming your mind also means refusing to identify with temporary emotions. Feeling tired does not mean you are weak. Feeling fear does not mean you should stop. Feeling discouraged does not mean you are failing. Emotions change constantly. Identity lasts longer. Train yourself to act based on standards, not feelings. The people who dominate life are not always the most talented. Often, they are simply the most conditioned. They trained themselves to execute small disciplines consistently until excellence became automatic. They learned that greatness is never built in giant dramatic moments. It is built through controlled daily decisions, repeated over and over again. Your future is hidden inside your routines. The small things you repeat daily are either building your power or destroying it quietly. Every thought, every habit, every standard, and every action is programming your mind into something stronger or weaker. Take control of the programming before the world programs mediocrity into you. Speak strength. Act with discipline. Build evidence daily. Master the small things long enough, and eventually the big things start obeying you. Words without emotion are weak. Repeating positive phrases with no intensity behind them changes nothing. Your mind does not transform because you casually whisper a few affirmations while distracted. Real conditioning happens when emotion enters the body. Emotion creates impact. Impact creates memory. Memory shapes behavior. Most people speak to themselves with uncertainty, hesitation, and doubt. Their voice has no conviction because they do not fully believe what they are saying. That is why their habits stay the same. The brain responds more to emotional intensity than empty repetition. If you want to master the small things and become mentally stronger, you must learn how to emotionally condition yourself every single day. Your nervous system is always recording emotional experiences. That means the words you repeatedly say with strong feeling become instructions your brain starts accepting as truth. When people constantly say, "I'm exhausted, I'm unlucky, I never finish anything," or "I'm not disciplined," they emotionally reinforce weakness. Over time, those emotional patterns become identity. But the same process can work in your favor. When you speak strength with certainty and emotion, you train your brain to operate differently. Saying "I am disciplined" while standing with confidence, breathing deeply, and feeling conviction creates a completely different impact than saying it passively. The body and mind are connected. Your posture, tone, energy, and emotional state influence how deeply your mind accepts a message. This is why mastering small things begins internally before it becomes external. If you cannot generate emotional commitment inside yourself, you will struggle to stay consistent outside yourself. Every morning, you should condition your emotional state before the world influences it. Do not wake up and immediately enter distraction. That gives external noise control over your focus. Instead, create emotional momentum intentionally. Speak powerful truths over your life with energy. Remind yourself what you stand for. Remind yourself what you refuse to tolerate anymore. Remind yourself who you are becoming. Do not just say the words. Feel them. If you say you are grateful, actually experience gratitude. Think about the opportunities, lessons, and strength you already possess. If you say you are focused, feel certainty in your ability to execute. If you say you are resilient, remember moments you survived difficulty before. Emotion anchors belief into the nervous system. The same principle applies to mastering discipline. Most people fail at small habits because they connect more emotional pleasure to comfort than to progress. They emotionally reward procrastination and emotionally resist discipline. They see workouts as pain, structure as pressure, and consistency as restriction. That emotional association weakens action. You must reverse the emotional pattern. Train yourself to associate pleasure with discipline and pain with staying weak. Feel proud after completing small tasks. Celebrate keeping promises to yourself. Build emotional satisfaction around execution. When you finish your workout, complete your responsibilities, stay focused or resist distractions, acknowledge it internally. Your brain repeats behaviors that receive emotional reward. At the same time, stop emotionally comforting your excuses. Every time you tolerate laziness, delay important work, or break your own standards, recognize the cost. Weak habits steal confidence quietly. They train your mind to settle for less than your potential. The longer excuses feel acceptable, the harder discipline becomes. Your emotional state also affects your level of certainty during challenges. Weak emotional conditioning causes people to collapse under pressure because they let temporary emotions control permanent decisions. One bad day destroys their consistency. One failure destroys momentum. One obstacle creates self-doubt. Strong people condition themselves differently. They train emotional resilience. Instead of emotionally reacting to problems, they emotionally connect to growth. Pressure becomes training. Difficulty becomes proof of expansion. Challenges become opportunities to strengthen identity. This does not happen naturally. It happens through repetition. Every day you must intentionally feed your mind emotional references that strengthen you. Listen to empowering information. Visualize your future. Remember moments where you overcame fear, pain, or struggle. Build emotional certainty through repetition until confidence becomes familiar. Another important principle is intensity. Life responds to the level of energy you bring. Passive people create passive results. If you approach your goals with low energy, weak commitment, and inconsistent focus, your results will reflect that. Emotion fuels execution. Passion creates movement. Urgency destroys procrastination. This is why your physical state matters too. Move your body. Breathe deeply. Walk with energy. Speak clearly. Your physiology affects your psychology. A tired posture creates tired thinking. A powerful posture creates stronger emotional conditioning. The goal is not fake positivity. The goal is emotional alignment. You are teaching yourself to emotionally believe in your strength before external results fully appear. That belief changes your behavior, and behavior changes your life. Fostering the small things requires emotional consistency, not just intellectual understanding. Everybody knows what they should do. Few people emotionally condition themselves to actually follow through daily. The words you speak over yourself are either building power or reinforcing weakness. Do not speak without emotion. Speak with certainty. Speak with energy. Speak with belief. Your mind is always listening, and eventually it becomes whatever you repeatedly make it feel. Most people wait for results before they believe in themselves. They wait to become confident before they act confident. They wait to become successful before they think like a successful person. They wait for proof before commitment. That mindset keeps people trapped in the same cycle for years. Your identity shapes your behavior long before your results appear. The way you see yourself controls the standards you tolerate, the habits you repeat, and the level of discipline you maintain. If you internally identify as weak, inconsistent, distracted, or average, your actions will keep matching that belief no matter how many goals you set. That is why you must start speaking future strength into your present identity before external success fully arrives. The person you become tomorrow is built by the thoughts, words, and actions you repeat today. Your mind constantly searches for evidence to confirm who you believe you are. If you repeatedly say, "I'm lazy," your brain looks for behaviors that support laziness. If you say, "I always quit," your mind expects inconsistency. Eventually, those patterns feel normal. But when you intentionally speak strength into yourself, you begin creating a new internal standard. You stop identifying with temporary weakness and start identifying with future capability. This is not fantasy thinking. It is mental conditioning. When you say, "I am disciplined," you are giving your mind a target identity to live up to. When you say, "I finish what I start," your brain becomes more aware of actions that align with that statement. Repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity builds identity. The key is backing those words with action. You cannot repeatedly speak strength while living in complete contradiction to it. Your mind respects evidence. That is why mastering small things matters so much. Small actions prove your new identity to yourself. Every completed task, every disciplined decision, every promise kept becomes proof that you are changing. Big transformations are built through small confirmations. When you wake up on time instead of snoozing the alarm, you reinforce discipline. When you finish work without procrastinating, you reinforce focus. When you stay calm under pressure, you reinforce emotional control. These small moments appear insignificant individually, but together they shape identity. Most people underestimate how dangerous negative self-labeling is. They casually destroy their confidence with the words they repeat daily, saying things like, "I'm bad at consistency," "I have no motivation," or "I'll probably fail anyway," slowly programs weakness into the nervous system. Over time, those statements stop feeling like opinions and start feeling like truth. Your words matter because your brain listens to repetition more than intention. If you want to master yourself, stop speaking from your current limitations and start speaking from the future strength you are building. Speak as the person you are becoming, not as the person fear tries to keep you trapped as. This requires emotional certainty. Weak language creates weak action. Strong language creates stronger standards. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to become disciplined," say, "I am becoming more disciplined every day." Instead of saying, "I hope I stay focused," say, "I execute regardless of distractions." Your internal dialogue influences your emotional state, and your emotional state influences your behavior. Identity also affects what you tolerate. When you identify as someone with high standards, you stop accepting behaviors that weaken you. You become more intentional with your time, energy, environment, and habits. Strong identities naturally reject weak routines. This is why successful people often appear more consistent than others. It is not always because they feel more motivated. It is because their identity no longer negotiates with certain behaviors. Discipline became part of who they are, not something they occasionally attempt. You build that same power through repetition. Every day, reinforce the identity you want. Write it down. Speak it aloud, visualize it clearly, then prove it through action. Even if the action is small, it matters. Tiny victories create internal belief. Internal belief creates momentum. Do not wait until life becomes perfect before strengthening your identity. Build strength in difficult seasons. Build discipline when you are tired. Build focus when distractions are everywhere. Build emotional control when pressure increases. That is how powerful identities are formed. Another important principle is refusing to emotionally attach yourself to past versions of you. Many people keep repeating old stories that no longer need to define them. They constantly remind themselves of past failures, mistakes, and weaknesses. That mental attachment keeps old identities alive. Your past may explain you, but it does not have to control you. You are allowed to outgrow old patterns. You are allowed to become more focused, more confident, more disciplined, and more resilient than you were before. But transformation requires repetition strong enough to replace old conditioning. Your future self is not built randomly. It is built through repeated thoughts, repeated standards, repeated actions, and repeated self-belief. Every day you are either reinforcing the old identity or strengthening the new one. Speak strength before results appear. Act disciplined before it feels natural. Hold yourself to higher standards before anyone notices your growth. Your identity always develops internally before it becomes visible externally. Master the small things long enough, and eventually your future strength becomes your permanent reality.